again.
Okay.
We can, I would leave the door open also.
Yeah, you can leave it open.
We good, Cheryl?
Yep.
All right, next is the consent agenda. Anything, anybody, before I go into it, anything anybody wants to pull? All right, do I have a motion to approve? So a second?
I'll second.
Any questions, comments, concerns about any of these?
Can I just ask a question?
Go ahead.
The medical director, is that a a different person that's a new medical director?
Correct. It used to be Dr. Sohat.
That's what I thought. Okay,
He left and now this is his replacement.
gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, all in favor? Any
Aye.
against? All right, under correspondence, there's this thing from BOCES. It really, it's kind of a, since we can't put anyone on it because someone from Millbrook is already on it. All it is at some point we'll get a number of nominations. So most of you went through this last year. But that was just, they send it to all boards so that if you wanted to nominate someone from our board, you could do that. All right, leadership reports. President, Vice President's report. The only thing I wanted to do was, I know it went out in an email, but I want to make sure that everyone is aware about this ever-changing mask requirements. You sent that out to the parents too?
Yes, the
I mean, the community. All right. Other than that, I think we're just to wait and see. Right. Howard, do you have anything?
No, follow that up, no.
The only one thing I should have mentioned too is I sent you that presentation from Kelly on the, it's called collective bargaining, but it's really a comparison of every district. And what's interesting, you'll see it, you have to like look at the title of the chart because you'll say Millbrook and it'll say like we're the second highest starting pay. I'll make it up. But then if you look at the next one, it says 10 steps in, Millbrook's down here. And so it's just, and it's the way in which they, some of them do steps, some of them do dollar values. I just find it's a really good kind of reference to how this stuff gets done. Anyway, you should all have that. Thank you. Superintendent's report.
Good evening, everybody. Nice to see you all. Just a couple of shout outs. The first shout out or round of applause is to our high school artists who had their work selected for the 2022 Scholastic Art Awards. We had 7 student artists win a gold key, 6 won a silver key, and there were 6 honorable mentions. We also had a sprinkle of 8th graders and 7th graders who had their artwork selected as well. This year, 12th grader Callie McGuire's portfolio, Functioning Without Focus, was one of just a few senior portfolios in the county to win a gold key. And seniors are eligible to submit cohesive pieces as a portfolio. And this is the first time a Millbrook student has been selected. So round of applause to Callie and her fellow classmates as well for their good work. And I also want to congratulate Jillian Barnes and Michelle Craig. Those are their teachers and their leaders in the classroom. So their students are a reflection of their good leadership and work and good work as well. Bravo, bravo to Michelle Trout and her seniors in her DCC English class. They debated 2 very hot topics. Does rebuilding inner cities, New York City, have a negative or positive impact on New York City communities? Team leaders were Nora Gelhoff and Michael Lindner. And then period 8 students debated, do American prisons fail at reforming criminals to return to society? Team leaders Elena Francia and Garnett Ackerman. These students, I was one of the judges. I was very fortunate to be picked along with some other teachers to listen and watch and observe the debate and give feedback in written form. And these students were so confident, informed, and passionate. And you knew that they worked really hard to get to that moment. They did all of the background work to have these informed debates, whether they agreed with the side they were on or not. They were credible and believable, and just very impressive. And these are the things that are very difficult for some students, right? To get up in front of your superintendent, your teachers, your peers, and they just shine. So bravo to Michelle and all of the teachers who have been part of their journey, their educational journey along the way here in Millbrook Central School District. A couple of events. National Honor Society is February 24th at 6:30 p.m. We have junior high.
Cheryl, can you
Yeah.
please? Thank you.
County at Arlington High School, January 29th, 1 o'clock. I remember when the pandemic just hit, I believe I was at All County, and all of the emails and phones were lighting up saying that we were going remote. We were in a pandemic, we were closing our schools. So I'm back. I'm so happy that we're back in business and we're in person seeing our kids performing. And then lastly, Spring Sports Athletic Director Al Hammond, he's happy to announce that the Millbrook Blazers Athletic Department has opened up the 2022 Spring Sports. Intent to participate. Online forms are on the Family ID registration system, and that closes on, used to help, closes on, where do I have that? Be used to help determine. Ooh, I don't know the deadline for that. I thought I had it here, but I will get that to you. And then you'll see a list of all the sports that are being offered.
So can you send that in a separate email to the community? Spring sports season coming up. If you have any interest at all, please sign up by whatever the date is, so that we don't get into, I didn't know, and nobody, and I didn't sign up. Let's see if we can't get this. And I know it'll be, you already have it in a note, but hammer it home.
And Al sent it out.
I believe Al did send it out, but we can.
Okay.
You can do as many times,
I
just
was
to
gonna ask
keep
the
it on
same
everybody's
question.
radar.
The Family ID program, are people automatically signed up for that in 7th grade? And is that how they're going to get this, or does it come out directly through email?
I have, let's go through the.
It doesn't come out through Family ID, it comes out notifying them that they, that there might be open for them to sign up. And then I believe, I could be incorrect, but I'm pretty sure that the families create their own account when they go in.
That's what I did, but that you wouldn't get the email unless you're 7th grade or higher?
Correct,
Okay.
because they're not eligible to
Yep.
participate.
Let's just make sure. I mean, even if it takes, a couple hours to go through the list and say, yeah, all the 7th through 12th graders are in here. Because we have way too many of these where they feel like you get this feedback. I didn't know. Now, I didn't see the email, or went into my spam folder, or who knows what could happen, but let's just.
You did send out an email 4 days ago as a reminder that Family ID is open, and I believe the form closed on Monday. So it did
That's
go
what I'm
out.
looking for, yeah.
That was the kind of the last reminder I remember getting. A few of these.
Yeah, I just want to make sure they know every sport that's
Right.
coming out and what the dates are.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, Monday, January 24th.
Shouldn't that actually be handled to, Paul, you're the AD, you have AD background. Do you ever report to the board on what's going on?
Yeah, occasionally, when asked, but I use the Family ID system. I think it's really good system, I think he's putting it out early enough so parents can get on there, create an account and log on. Everything is right there, all the information they need. And yeah, not often, but periodically, if there's an issue or if they want to get an updated report on things, or, yep, I have, and probably will continue to, yeah,
Because as far back as I can remember, I know we've had on Zoom, our AD has been on Zoom, but I can't remember ever having our AD in person even once. So, it'd be nice if we knew exactly what was sent out, and if he would actually do a report saying, I did this for fall, I did that, and instead of asking the superintendent all the time, well, can you redo it or send it out?
Yeah.
Since it is the duty of the AD. make sure that clearly. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Then we have our central offices are now complete. The team is settling in to their new digs. We're planning a little ribbon cutting and a little breakfast this week, just to let people see the new space. It is just beautiful. So if when you're walking out, you want to peek in. Don't peek in.
Okay, you have that big throne at the end.
I do.
Well done. Well
And my
done.
crown sits next to it.
Good.
And then lastly, on the district part is Esports. It's exciting. We spoke about it at length last year and what we'd like to invest in technology and funding. And now the BOCES has reached out to us saying that they are going to start an esports program as well, which is wonderful for us because we know that our students, there's a high interest and there was a high cost. Now we still have high interest, but we have better costs. And so we're just looking to the board to see if we could have conceptual approval to explore it more. We have to talk about transportation, coaches, technology, the expansion of technology later on. But it's,
So they would have to go to BOCES to play esports?
they would go to different schools
Different schools.
for tournaments and challenges.
Hmm.
There's a schedule. And they compete.
So what do you guys think?
And
I mean, exploring it more to me.
I love the idea. I just remember it was super costly. So that's the only update we would need, but you know, because I know it starts out very small with a small group and then it kind of expands from there.
Yeah,
I think it's great.
the cost for the coaster would be $2,000, and then the esports service, which is discounted because it's part of the school year, is $500. So right now it would be a total of $2,000 to get it up and running and our kids competing. Far from where we were before. I don't know if you want to remind.
Yeah,
That's
so we're
all.
looking at purchasing older technology and stuff.
Yeah.
We do it in-house.
So you guys would come in
I
with
got you.
like a budget for this thing?
So
Here's what the busing will cost us. Here's-
Mhm.
we were looking at, if you remember, we were looking at a potential grant application for over $30,000. So out of a team of 10, and that's $3,000 per workstation. This coaster would be $2,000 plus the cost of coach moderator, which we need anyway,
Mhm.
and the cost of transporting our students. The BOCES coaster is a partnership with Contender Sports and Loppingers. They're a esports gaming facility.
Okay.
So I think initially our kids would be going there for practices and competitions. And then I think as we budget build in future years, we can explore the cost of that outsourced facility versus upgrading some of our equipment in-house and providing our kids with a practice facility here. But this gets the team up and running with immediacy.
So who owns this? Is this part of the AD? Or is this part of, who's gonna own this program?
Well, I think it's going to be supported by Contender, which is where they were going to have a lot of the training facilities and the practices.
As a
And,
physical location, yes.
Physical
Yeah,
location.
but the,
And
like
there were-
which kid, like and I don't know how any of this works, but are they playing basketball this season? And, you know, is there a sign up? Like basically the equivalent of what we just talked about for physical sports. Who's the person that controls this for esports? Or don't we know yet?
That's what we're working on. Yeah, we've had conversations with Rick, with Al,
Okay.
with BOCES. But we just wanted to make sure that there was still interest on the boards we have.
Well, would it be more of a club, Laura, and you'd have an advisor assigned to it from the advisor? Because you have to change the contract now with advisorships as well.
We're having conversations with BOCES and what is it? To talk about, is it a club or is it considered a sport? Because a club would have to have, it has certain criteria.
Right.
Yeah.
For a president, it has to be self-sustaining financially, so it may fall
Yeah.
within.
Yeah, if it's a coaching stipend, that's paid out of the athletic budget. If it's a club advisorship, that's paid out of a different, that's the advisors for clubs. But it's a great concept. It's a great concept. And you're gonna get kids that aren't usually included to be included. I like it a lot. It's very exciting.
So is everybody cool with them just going forward? So when does this start? Like, is it March 1st? Is this next year? Because we need a plan to say, here's all the costs, here's who's gonna do it, here's who's gonna own it before we can let you guys go forward.
Yeah, we want to be prepared, well, we have to be prepared by February 8th, our next board meeting, with all of the details.
Okay.
Because it starts February and March, right? Elliot?
I have a call with the person at BOCES that's running it and Rick Syke, just to talk like technical logistics. The other stuff, I'm not as familiar with.
Yeah, but it's soon.
But I
Yeah.
think they're looking at like a late February, March start date, somewhat aligned with the sports season. But again, whether it's a sport or a club.
Right.
you
So,
need to work
Cheryl,
on
can you
that.
make sure this gets on the February 8th agenda?
Yep.
So I don't forget.
Okay, just a couple other items, we've been continuing our meetings, Ashley, Kevin, and myself, with departments and building and administrative leaders. And as we build the budget, we had like an orientation of the new process we're using, and we've been doing check-ins, round 2 with our principals. We're gonna meet with Caroline next week. We met with Elliot twice. And Ally will be meeting tomorrow for the athletic department. So that's an ongoing process. And then below are some COVID updates. We still have home rapid test kits from the county still available to our families. They can definitely pick up a second round if they'd like. They can just go to the main entrance here at the middle school to pick it up. We're hosting or in partnership with Dr. Neal, who is the owner of the Village Apothecary, and hosting a vaccine booster clinic on January 31st at Alden between the hours of 4:30 and 6:30. We'll get that information out tomorrow to families. I'm also looking for some volunteers. So if anybody's interested in helping out, you
To do what?
contact me, running the vaccine booster clinic.
So we could actually like do shots. No, I mean,
That's
seriously,
a different kind of event.
what is the,
Probably signing people in, yeah, showing them where they
Okay.
can sit, just sort of managing traffic, people coming in, welcoming people, putting them at ease, all that good stuff.
okay,
Then you'll see we're the parent informational session, we're still working on that. As we get new guidance, we have to sort of figure out our message to our families and schedule a time with our nurses. And then you'll see the COVID-19 numbers that are on the dashboard. 2,105 were reported on 121, and those are being currently monitored by the county. And then I left the numbers for 1/10/2022, and they were 8,500. So they have significantly dropped. And then as per board request, I tried to capture all of the numbers from January 1st until January 21st. And we'll keep adding the numbers so I can give you a full monthly report. But you'll see down on the bottom, the positives were 169 positives, 133 students, 36 staff, and then close contacts, 359, 314 students, 48 staff. And in the new guidance, it recommends that we continue to contact families if they're close contact to any students. And I think the practices are varying across districts. So what we're doing right now is we're still doing internal close contact tracing and informing parents via email or phone call if they don't have an email, with a letter and sort of some instructions to follow. Other districts are sending like a letter to a whole class or a whole cafeteria, or like you would with flu or lice or whatever's happening in that classroom. We felt this was more targeted and wouldn't throw a whole classroom or a whole group of people into a frenzy. Like this is what where your child might have been exposed, and here's the information you need to keep safe for health. So that's what we're doing.
Okay.
And that's all I have to report. Thank you.
very good.
Laura, the vaccine booster clinic, so is that just for kids?
Everyone and anybody, according
Really?
to Dr. Neal. Yes, he has all of instructions, whether you have insurance or you don't have insurance, it's not a problem.
But
Yeah.
12 and up, right? I don't think the booster's
don't
even
know.
eligible for 12. and up,
Well, it's vaccine slash
The-
booster,
I don't know about the
so I
boosters,
would
yeah.
think 5 and
Not
up
yet,
could get.
Mhm.
right?
And is it just taxpayers of Millbrook or?
He's,
anyone?
no, he said everybody and anybody who'd like to come. And we've gotten invitations from Dover for clinics that he has hosted, Pine Plains, so. Yeah.
Thanks.
Very good. Any other questions for Laura? All right, facilities maintenance report.
So John Mullins is joining us tonight. He's our head of maintenance. He's graciously stepped up to drive our day-to-day facilities operations. With the
Nice job.
retirement of my producer. John comes to us with almost 30 years of school facilities experience. He's been with the district, now this is his third year. He's been doing this for a really long time. He's got a background in boiler operations. He's building operations certified through the EPA. He's got fire and life safety system management certificate. So John's got a wealth of knowledge, and we're just excited to have him here and have the opportunity to see what he can do in the driver's seat. So without any further ado, John, you want to share some thoughts with the board? And
Just want to
introduce
thank all
yourself?
of the board members and the superintendent, Caroline, and all the principals for giving me this opportunity. The added responsibilities, and I just want to thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
That's great, John. We're really looking forward to what you can do.
I really appreciate that. Thank you. So I have just a couple of ideas that I'd like to go over with you guys, if you want to hear them. Sure. So one thing, the board operations and fuel savings. When I first started here in 2019, first winter I was here, they were running these boilers 24/7. Running all the way overnight, through to the night. And over the weekends, you throw fuel out the window. I tried to make a change. Resistance, I backed off a little bit. But just by myself, I couldn't just let that happen. For the following winter, last year, 2020, I started making changes. I was working with Mr. Alan Tompkins, the junior members, teaching the guys how to use the boilers, how to start them, how to shut them down, how to troubleshoot if you have a little issue. So, in other words, in the afternoon, when school dismisses at 3:30, it's 34 degrees out, you shut the boiler down, let the boilers rest, save fuel. In the meantime, put it back on 11 o'clock at night, if we get a deep freeze or whatever. I get in early in the morning, make sure everything's okay. And we save fuel, and we save on the boilers, running constantly 24 hours. So far this year, from last year's time, we purchased around 60,000 gallons of fuel at this time. Right now, we're at 45,000. So by the little things I was doing, moving stuff around, having guys work, we saved about 15,000 gallons so far. I was also out 2 weeks for surgery, so that 2 weeks, the boilers went back on 24/7. We probably could save another 5 to 10 gallons there.
Well, and the key is with the inflation on fuel oil.
Right, it's probably the difference in the money.
Yeah, well,
Inflation.
but still, I mean, this helps us
Oh,
get through it.
sure.
That's great.
Because we would have been at another 60,000 gallons right at this point. Now we're only at 45,000 gallons. Also, the guys, Albert and the maintenance staff, custodial staff, they get knowledge and they're learning. I got a call last night, for example, by Travis at Olden. One of the boilers shut off. Now, if nobody was here or whatever, we could have had a freeze in the morning because we called John, the boiler shut off. Step back, take a look at it, relax. There's a pressure control button. Try resetting that. He reset it on his own, or started right back up. So these guys, they're looking to step up to these guys.
Good.
And they like it, to learn something. Before, they were told, that's not their job, don't touch it.
Mhm.
And that was the end of the story. Also, over the weekends, with Rossi's mission, we established a building check over the weekends. So in other words, Friday night, we shut down. We got basketball practice at the high school or middle school on Saturday or Sunday. Worker will come in, a custodial worker or a maintenance worker, come in, start up the heat, the basketball team, so they're not practicing in 35-degree weather. Or we're wasting fuel, just let it go all weekend long. While we got that man here, he opens the building, make sure the kids are safe, they get into the gym, the lights are on. Gets them all set up, and then he goes about, I can give a painting task, a cleaning task, or whatever, getting work done, they're saving on fuel. And we got the kids and the staff protected. It makes perfect sense. Money comparison, instead of running a fuel one all weekend, having a guy here is together. So savings of at least 5,500 a week, at least. I'm just roughing the numbers out.
Okay.
And we also get to clean up after them, so the kids on Monday don't come into a dirty building. Because, you know, the kids might go to use the bathroom, during practice. We got someone here cleaning the bathroom after they're done. That's working out to be good. So that's the building checks. Also, with Mr. Garcia, we have started meeting with the principals monthly. We set a monthly meeting up with each principal, each school. We asked them what they would like. We created spreadsheets. Stuff that we can do in-house, we take care of right away. We gave it when we did it. And capital projects and stuff like that, we start looking into. Principals are really happy about that. It's their buildings. They know what their kids need. And we get things done in-house that we can take care of. So subcontracting it out and take care of it. It's what the next monthly meeting cuts. I also like to stop in the principals daily. I go building to building to building every day. I pop in the general office. Ask them how they're doing, is everything okay? The principal's there for 2 minutes. Do you need anything? And they're very receptive to that type of thing. We appreciate that. Yeah. Change some hours around to the staff members. Guys will come in at 7 o'clock. Open the buildings. The buildings open at 7:30 to our staff and 7:45 to our children. If you walk into the building at 7 o'clock and you got a flood going on, something happened overnight, what are we gonna do? Close school? And there's no school for the kids? So I changed the hours. I moved them up. It's like 6 a.m. in the morning. So they come in, they walk the building, they check the building, make sure it's safe. And if there's a problem, we can react, and we can make sure the kids, if anything, the worst case scenario, a delay or something like that. There was already 2 incidents that we caught early in the morning, we took care of it, and we had no problem getting it done. So Albie Tompkins, he's the president, the union president. He's been great with this. The custodian's been great with it, no kickback on them. And they look forward to how things are going to change in the future. And they've been really, really great. Preventive maintenance plan, such as checking our exhaust fans, our roof drains, our unit vents. When I first got here, 3/4 of the exhaust fans on the roofs of Walden and Elm were non-existent. There were no motors, no belts, nothing. I had to identify which motor went to which exhaust fan, all this, because there was nothing there. You couldn't copy it. So we do that check now routinely, quarterly, every 4 months. We look at it with the hoods. Whoever checks them signs their name on them, what they service, if they replace the belt, they load the motor, and this way we keep our exhaust fans up and running. And we need to have the exhaust control. Prevent what happened down at Elm Drive before I was even there. Most of them exhaust fans don't even work. Going forward, as we have that, I have log books in place. We transfer them over to on the computer, on spreadsheets, it'll be easier. We have a secretary, but this wasn't high enough. She just helped me with that. I'll have to book onto the computer. Also, Mr. Garcia brought a custodial assessment company in to work with us to assess the building needs and manpower by square footage of the buildings. And they'll be coming out in a couple of weeks and going around identifying all the spaces and see where we're losing manpower here or if we can gain manpower there. And it seemed like a really great company. It gives us a PowerPoint this week. And we look forward to working with that company also. School dues, you probably know about school dues in the past. When I first started here, I was getting 20, 40 school dues thrown on my desk every day. I was like, what's going on? It must have been a backlog. It must have been a backlog 5,000, 8,000. What I do now is tell myself how to go on the school dude. I catch them while they first come in, waiting for approval by the principals. I'm trying to take that away from the principals. They got enough going on. I'll look at that while it's waiting for their approval. It's something that has to be done, such as a broken window or something like that. I'm not gonna wait for their approval. I'm not gonna bother them, let them work on their educational part. I just go ahead and do it. If they're asking for something out of the ball game, I'll wait for the principals. I'll go to them and I'll say, you can approve this or not. Just for example, yesterday there was 3 school dues for it. I catch them, they're done, finished, don't backlog them up. So we address them right away, going every morning, we'll take care of that. Assign guys to handle one task. You'll see the amount of school due things. I think Mike used to give you a report. They drastically increased monthly from when I first started. So the guys are working, you know, they're moving, I got them taking care of the jobs that have to be done. The future with this custodial assessment company, I'm gonna probably make changes to custodian and maintenance schedules. They actually don't have any schedules. When I first started, I couldn't believe it. We have schedules. I worked on it for about a month. I created schedules for everybody and then shot them down. Which one I believe you guys should have schedules. This way, if the principal comes into the building at 6 o'clock at night, who's working, where is he? He has a schedule, the principals get a schedule. Okay, right, should be over here. I need him for help or whatever. So we're working on that. The assessment. Going forward, the summertime, me and Albert have been talking about painting the buildings for the kids, make them more colorful, like Elm is all white, the classroom's white, everything's the same color, looks like a hospital. So we want to spruce it up, we want to make it colorful for the little kids, we want to do the same at all. Albert has some great ideas, and all you gotta do is schedule the painting accordingly, and you can get one painter in each building, and you can get a lot of painting done per building. I already identified guys that can paint. It's just not out. When I came in, it was just out. I was the only one that paints. Now I got other guys that are stepping up and they want to paint. And they're neat and they're clean and it's going to be a lot of paint. Also, we started beautification projects outside. I'm sure you have noticed. Down in Elm, the garden, the principal helped us. And we did the same at Alden. And we did the same out front here. We're in the process of working on the butterfly garden in the back of the high school. Collect. We already framed it out for nice, got it ready to go for spring. I'm also working with Ellis Petrosino. We're going to be putting gardens out here on between the second and third levels in front of the school building. I think the company's 4-H that works for Duchess or H4. Yeah, they work the schools. They donated a shed to us. It's a 6x10 shed. It's going to go out front between the second and third level. So the storage place has it for us. They'll hold it, no charge. So we're ready for it. Because it's the winter now, but the ground's frosted. I got to do a little digging. I'm going to build a bed for it. With item 4. And they're already looking to that. It's real cheap. Buy the item 4, we buy the wood, we frame it out. Put the shed right on top of it. And then we'll move over the garden base. So looking forward to that. We're also going to put a gate in front. You probably know about that. That's been already done, taken care of. We'll put that in after we get the shed in. And we're going to definitely keep up on the outside grounds. We've got a new worker, Chris Viola, his name is. He's a new hire. The guy seems very good, very talented, and we're going to have him on board. He's a good addition to maintenance staff, to the outside grounds, and I don't see no problems keeping him up on the outside grounds. Also with athletics up in the field. I was told the coaches do this, coaches do that, coaches do that. I told Hamill they don't do that no more. We do that. We help use. They're there to instruct and teach. They're not there to go rate the field. They're not there to go paint the lines. That's our job. We do it. So I've been working closely with Mr. Hamill. Whatever he needs, we've been taking care of. Some of the basketball hoops at the high school, they're all up high. They had contractors come and say, oh, that's the motor. That's the motor. Let me go up, take a look at it myself. They wanted like $6,000, $8,000 to replace 2 motors. I went up there, found out it was a capacitor. Capacitor was $27. So we fixed it ourselves. And that was on a number of the basketball. So for $27 part, the company wanted to charge us $6,000. Not even going up looking at it, just by pointing right to the motor. So there's a lot of stuff we can do in-house to save the district money. We have a lot of capable staff here that are looking to step up. PPS office, the new one. We put the floors down, we did the moldings, we did painting in there. There's a lot of things that we could do to save the district money. Instead of outsourcing that, paying BOCES or contractor. The guys are willing to work overtime. The overtime is a lot cheaper than paying these other people. And it makes them feel like they're working. You know, these guys are proud. They can't be proud of how they're working. Going forward, this is what our plans are. It's all for the betterment of the children and staff here. And I look forward to working in this capacity going forward.
Well, John, I mean, message from the board for the last, at least the last pretty much 6 years has been, we want people to take pride in these buildings. We want the principals to own their campuses, where they know what they want, the way they want it, how it should look. But we want it done right. We don't want it done, you know, take a piece of plywood, screw it to the wall and go on. And everything you're talking about is what we wanted to move towards. And know that, I mean, if you come in and say, I think the best way to handle a middle school is bulldoze the whole thing and start over, we'll probably tell you no. But if you come in and say, I need to, or, you know, hopefully you don't even have to come to us and say, I really need to get a professional plumber in here to cut through the drains, because, you know, instead of trying to, you know, Jimmy John it ourselves, and then after 4 or 5 hours, now we're really in trouble. Get it done right and be proactive about it. So
That was another thing I forgot to mention in this. We should have vendors and contracts with companies. For example, with the boilers, some goes wrong where I can't take care of it. If we don't have like a service contract with them, you're the bad guy in the back. We'll get to you when we're gonna get. You got a service contract with these people for the year, you call them, I need you, Johnny on the spot. You don't have that in place.
Yep.
Right, so looking forward to do that, the plumbing, the boilers, you know, electricians, certain things like that, that if we have an emergency that we can't handle it. The main goal is not to lose school.
Yeah.
They need to be here every day. And you can't say we're closing schools because of facilities. I worked for New York City for over 25 years. As an engineer, I was in charge of the building. I did that for 13 years, and the building never closed under my watch. Kids were always in that building.
fantastic.
If you close that building, you're gonna get one to the wrong.
John, you do know now, according to Elliot, you're gonna get off that chair and walk on water to the door. So we
I'm not looking to walk on water. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, listen, thank you for your patience and thanks for hanging in there for the opportunity, because good things in the future. I have to tell you, after you retire from here, we could open up a training school, because it's just hard to get a full team going. And I think that everybody's going to be really happy. And thank you, Elliot, putting together the plan. I don't know you, but I know of you, because from Albert to Caroline to Elliot to Laura, everybody speaks so highly of you, your respect, your professionalism. I know the relationships you're going to develop with the vendors is so important. And just thanks in advance. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Very good. Other comments, questions?
It's nice to hear a common sense approach for a change. So thank you.
There you go.
Oh, boy.
John, we're very happy to have you. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And see what, since you got the Yankees hat on, can you see what you can do about our pitching?
Good.
It kind of sucks.
He's always been a pitcher with the Yankees. Oh,
I don't want to say anything, but we have Max Scherzer now for the Mets, so we're in good shape, you guys. Watch out.
No, the Mets will find a way to sink that. Anyway, thank you, John. It's really great to hear from you. And no, you know, I mean, of course, Elliot will work with Elliot, but if you need us, come see us. All right.
thank you so much.
Very good.
Thank you.
John.
Good night. Bye.
All right. Elm Drive Principal Report. So listen to you again. Good.
No, I know.
We just got all that good stuff with John. Now we're gonna listen to
Get
you.
ready. It's gonna go.
Good.
There's 8 items on here. Some are connected, so I'll blend them as much as possible. So the first 2 are about our MTSS work that we started really at the end of last year and then continuing through. So the first point there is that our wind cycles in K5 or K5, the first wind cycle is coming to an end at the end of the second quarter. So what that means is that the students were all in differentiated groups, L1 through L4, based on ability and skill need. And so we built in a pause for a month at the end of the second quarter to reflect on our practices, look at data, hone our practices, and set a course for cycle 2, which begins in March. So just some key things that happened during that pause. Our students who need the most support, our L1s and L2s, are continued to be serviced by our traditional AIS teachers and our special education teachers. So those students who are below grade level don't have any drop in service, but the 3s and 4s go back to their regular classrooms. During that time, the teachers take time to analyze student growth, the metrics that we use, and then begin to discuss what's the next cycle look like. Because the whole purpose of doing this targeted instruction, personalized learning, is that you move students. You know, if we see that we do this all year, and we only have 3 kids moving an L2 to an L3, like it's not working. You know, great idea on paper, but it's not getting done what we need to do. So that is why that pause is built in here, to reflect, to evaluate, to scramble our roots, and then move forward. So that's sort of what it looks like for a student. During that same pause, going down to number 2, we continue our data meetings. So just because when L4 isn't up and running, doesn't mean we don't meet. So every week we will meet with Elm and Alden grade level teams. We had Alden today. Myself, Caroline, Victoria Curry, and Tom sat with each team to discuss their progress so far, and then the direction that we're going. In those conversations, students' experience in WIN is very targeted. It's tier 2 and tier 3, but we're using these conversations to audit what we're doing in tier 1, and then to make impact in our tier 1. Because as we said last time I was here in December, if you have students who need prescriptive instruction, like at a tier 2 or tier 3 level, that means tier 1's not cutting it for some of them. So like, where are the gaps in tier 1? Why does these group of students need enrichment? Why do these groups of students need intervention and reinforcement? So during this pause, during these data meetings, we are in there talking about the future and upcoming curriculum. So what is your upcoming unit? How does it align to our curriculum? How does it align to New York State Next Gen standards? And then we get into instructional design, where we begin to press our staff on creating strategies that target standards, but scaffolding those strategies. So let's say the standard is make a claim and support it with 3 points of evidence. And that works in writing and it works in reading. So our conversation across the whole team is this a highly leverageable skill that'll move your students from L1 to L2 or to L2 to L3? Like if we can get all of the 3rd graders or 4th graders or 5th graders talking about this, will they move? And we believe that's the case. So what does a strategy look like? What's something that's very student friendly, that not only you can do in reading or you can do in writing, but what makes sense that you can spread across? If a kid reads in social studies an article, you can use the same reading comprehension strategy. Or he reads in science and he can use this. Or he has to write a response, and that strategy can go both ways, reading and writing. So we begun to have those conversations when you're designing your next units. Not only are they aligned to a curriculum math and standards, but are the strategies you're doing able to be differentiated for L2, L1, L2. So those are our first 2 bullets. We are really putting a lot of energy into instruction. We are diving into these conversations. We are looking at student work samples. We are tossing around best practices. And we're doing it on a weekly basis with all 6th grades, well, pre-K as well, but they don't switch. It's a lot of time spent, but in the right place. Like we have to have these conversations to move our academic. The 3rd thing going on is a little bit about instructional leadership beyond Elm Drive. So the MTSS work that we are involved in with Caroline, myself, Victoria Curry, we've had the opportunity to share this. We did back in November at NICEGate, which you know about, a conference up in Albany. In December, the 3 of us ran a session for Putnam Westchester Voices. We met with them for feedback, thinking they'd be like, hey, good job, folks. Next time, try this, try that. And instead, they were elated, and they said, what you all talked about has much more life. You condensed it into an hour. We think that this has value going to the whole PNW network. And they asked us, requested us, and we accepted to do a 4 half-day, 12-hour workshop for them in the spring where we talk about this work. And then they also prospectively said, it also sounds like a 5-day, 30-hour institute in the summer. So we are now talking about that idea and how do we connect those two. So essentially, some of this work we're doing has merit, outside of here. And it's not a one-way street when we do that. You make connections, you start conversations, and you start seeing, okay, well, but this district's doing it this way, or this district's doing it this way. Let's network. To that vein, the folks who run Putnam, Northern Westchester have met with the 3 of us. And in addition to these 2 workshops or institutes, they've talked with us about the idea of a regional consortium, which we talked about a little bit up here. And Millbrook playing sort of a central figure in some of this work. That is just a brainstorm right now. There's nothing, nothing in the works. But it's nice to have those conversations and to see like, hey, what could be. Outside of that, there's some regional and national opportunities. So there's a JTAG, a data conference in March that we have submitted a proposal for similar work. We anticipate it being accepted. We get to hear back. We believe it will be. There is an international conference right after graduation that we've met with some folks about. We're talking a little bit about, do we just go down there and check it out and for possibly presenting next year, or do we try to put something together even though it's a little late and get in there now? I think we're leaning more towards, if we can, do we all go down and check out the international experience? There's so much to gain even just by attending, and if we haven't been there yet, we haven't through this International Society for Technology and Education. You don't want to go in and present blind and then be like, oh, well, we missed our audience, and then that is our face, or that is our district name. So that's up there. There's another national conference called Learning Forward, the Learning Forward Professional Learning Association, on similar topics the end of this year, and we have put together a proposal and sent that in to that. So we're waiting and see. So we're starting to take the work that we're doing and have conversations outside of the district and trying to grow our conversations, our work, find out other places, because what we're doing is great, cool, we really like it. It's not the end all be all by any means. There's a lot of other people growing their academic practices as well. So we just want to get out there and see it, beyond, just talking to Rhinebeck and staff, because quite frankly, our goal is to do more. So that is our opportunities and our instructional leadership beyond just on drive. Going back to the building level, I spoke a little bit about building level steering committee, decision-making body. We have brought back mystery readers, so we have getting parents and families in. So our classrooms are very happy to do that. Some classrooms have the folks in reading with the kids, some do it virtually, some do a blended experience. It's nice to have some tech supported options for what everyone feels comfortable seeing. We are talking about bringing back publishing parties for the workshop model. For those of you who know about that, students write and they go through different drafts in the workshop model, and they get to a point where they work to a publish. Like, this is an end product. A lot of the work they do is ongoing, and there never is an end, but some is finite. And so when they get to those published pieces, we want to share it. And so we are picking certain dates on the calendar for the spring for each grade level to have these. Again, we'll figure out if it's virtual or in person. Alden has already picked their dates, which is great. And so it gives a really end goal for written instruction. As part of that, we started to talk about, as academic leaders, we talk all the time about data, numbers, skills, how do you do it? It's super dry. But when you talk about reading and writing, there's so much art involved in it, like heart into it. So when we talk to our teams and students, we're like, well, some of the work is mine, but some of the work is like heart into it. So take a very tangible thing. Often you might see this, there's like a checklist for grammar. When you write an essay, like, did you punctuate? Did you use nouns, verbs? Did you do X, Y, Z? But now they're also starting to say for the students to self-reflect, did you put in your best effort? Can you show me your proudest point in this process? Can can you show me the most challenging part of this process and get that reflection and get that feeling out to it, because we don't want it to just be drill and skill. You know, we want that full package. That's underneath the publishing parties and then that idea. We're talking still about field trips and the journey of graduate. We have a red-handed acknowledgement for good behavior. We're lifting that. We were going to lift it at the gate in January, but then we had a COVID situation. So people have a lot on their plates right now. There's a lot of new things we're throwing at them. So we'll probably lift that in February. Our imagination station at Elm is turning into the STEAM lab. Big shout out to John's staff, well, highlight staff, but John and Albert and all their work there. So soon that's going to be up and running where kids are going to be in and out of there every day. Coming attractions with the help actually of Albert and some of the other guys, but we are going to create an Elm Drive post office where like each little side of the hallway has different street names and every room has little addresses. And as part of students' writing experience, they're going to start letter writing, corresponding with each other. They'll write up here even, and so that'll be a nice little thing. There's like these really cool like mailboxes that we're just repurposing old wood stuff and then making the mailboxes. They look cool, you know. And as John said, our staff found to do that. So I think the kids are going to be very excited. The next two are new programs, you know, very much in sort of in Caroline's area, but Warren Gillingham training is coming to a conclusion at Elm Alden. It's going to take the place of foundations. We're going to start it in WIN, but there's absolutely, we already started the individual OG. We're in our WIN periods where it's small group, but the OG for classroom will be for classroom coming out. Caroline and I are pegged to do some model teaching of OG. We have to get on that and do that. I know we've just been hanging out. We haven't really had a lot going on. So have to do that. But so we told Don that we would do it because we'll train in it, and we used to do it. So we can get on board with that to be model practitioners. And with Art Gillingham, so all of our staff at the elementary level at Elm, and then many of the literacy folks at Alden are trained in it at the end of February. That is a huge sort of like chip in our pocket. This is something that prep schools offer, and prep schools offer at like $70,000 a year to send your kid there. You know, people, as you know, like they sue districts to get it done. And we don't just have 3 people. You know, I'm not sure our official number. We're gonna walk away with over 20 people.
We have 24 in the training right now, but we have probably 6 or 7 that did it already last year to the associate level.
So it's extremely significant at meeting students' needs, but it's also extremely significant at lifting the conversation on how you instruct students who need reading support. Because you have this holistic approach of the Reader's Writers Workshop, but now we have this very prescriptive and diagnostic, targeted, explicit approach to OG. So we feel very capable of handling what we need for students reading. But again, it needs to be, we need to see it in the numbers. So as we start to use this, we are going to gauge, well, what did this year look like when we didn't use it? What does next year look like when we do? Because results are really what drive this. So part of the OG training is you can be associate level certified. We're offering that. That steps up your certification a little bit more. And so we're encouraging some of our staff to do that. It's a little rigorous. You have to have an Art Gillingham mentor who comes here and works with our staff. Our trainer does do that. And some of our folks have it built into their schedule. So like to become certified, you have to work with a student on a daily basis or a certain number of hours a week, and you have to do that through a large scope of, you know, like 10 months, 100 hours, thank you. But as part of their schedule, they're doing this. So, you know, take advantage of it, hone your craft just a little bit more, and then add this. You know, so when it comes time for a 10-year report or whatever it might be, you have this. Outside of school, honestly, they could do that as a side gig, and it's very valuable. And that continues to hone their craft anyway, it's more experience. So we hope that folks take stuff on that offer, because we want people to see a lot of value in our trainings that we offer, not just like, okay, they want me to go this deep. Eureka Math is another program we talked a little bit about last time here. We are beginning to develop trainings for Elm on all grade levels and our all-in math teachers this spring. So we get people up and running early with this. Even possibly pilot some of the units at the end of the spring. But the goal is to by June, have the folks who are teaching math P5 have the first 2 units planned for the fall, so that they leave understanding what this math way of instruction looks like, understanding how to plan for it, and then we can continue to load the training in the fall for the rest of the year, like we did with OG this year. Because when you go to Eureka Math, it's not like a one and done deal, it's very much like Gillingham, not as intensive, but similar in the effect that like, this is ongoing, it doesn't just stop. So we're gonna get that off the ground very soon. We're figuring out what those trainings are gonna look like and how people start signing up this year. The last 2 are very much building related. Our STEAM classes are up and running at home. Every classroom K2 gets 1 STEAM class in a 6-day cycle. The room update, as I did a little shout out for, we cleaned up the room. We've got our smart board. It's being repurposed from all over the place. We're currently setting up tables and chairs. And there's been a request for a green screen for like media use. You see people use those. We actually have one, so I think we're gonna be able to put that together. So all of that ideally will be done in the coming weeks. The idea is that our STEAM classes align with Science 21. So Science 21 is a way of teaching science that's very inquiry-based, aligned with next gen standards, and a lot of our elementary teachers are beginning to be trained in it, and they're taking their classes through these exercises. That being said, it's a big lift. We're asking our elementary teachers to do a ton of lift. They teach 6 subjects a day, and we're saying, hey, you're doing a good job, but do phonics this way now, and hey, do math. This is Eureka is very much an extension of Singapore, but we're going to push you there too. And then here's the Science 21. So we want our STEM classes to not be an extra thing for them, be a partnership with them, where our classroom teachers are partnering with our library media specialists. And let's say they're teaching 2 or 3 STEM classes in a 6-day cycle, over the course of a month. They have, over the course of a week, there might be 3 STEM classes. Our librarian picks up 1 that she co-teaches with them, and then they're left with 2. Right now, as we begin to blend that planning, our students are still doing STEM activities. They're just not exactly aligned to Science 21. So our kindergarten is using the iPads that we have and acquiring skills to manipulate that so that there's exposure to it. And our 1st and 2nd graders are doing 3D constructions, which fall right in line with STEM. Our future goals is to align that work even more with the 21 curriculum and just really push the idea of inquiry and getting kids excited about science. All right, last tagline, pre-K registration. So we have 2 sections right now, 15 students. We are currently opening up at that size, but we're doing information nights for parents next Monday, the 31st, and then February the 10th, where we will go over what the program looks like, the nuts and bolts of the program, but also, what's a day in the life look like. We're going to put pre-K teachers now who will join us for those, and they'll really show what the experience is like. When we did these informational nights last year, it was just us, very dry, because we didn't do it yet. So now we have this whole story. So hopefully it'll be much more vivid and lively, and we'll still answer any questions parents have. But the idea is do the information nights early. Then we're opening up a registration week, February 15th to the 18th, of getting the word out and saying, if you're interested, please register during this time period. It's rolling admission after that. But we're going so early because we want to know by springtime, oh wow, we're at 28 kids. Now it's time to talk about the section. Or we're okay, we're at 18, we're probably gonna be all right. But we want to make the most precise decision that we can about adding that third section, in the most timely manner. So that is why we are sort of very early on this. We're continuing to work in our pre-K curriculum and design what we think is best for students. So they're piloting Reader's Writers Workshop at the pre-K level, going over letters, sounds, associations, storytelling. We will train them up on Eureka Math, how it aligns to pre-K center instruction. And then we're working on STEAM projects as well. The final note is that we do a lot of data tracking these days, a lot of work with, hey, how does the data and practices align standards? The pre-K team is fully on board with that, and it's helped us, in fact, not only create a data tracker for pre-K and the skill sets that we think our kids should have coming out of pre-K, but they've even created a standard aligned based report card, right? Which is a nice direction to go in, because that report card directly reflects everything the kids can do that are aligned with standards. So that's what we got. Questions, comments? What do you got?
Do you have everything you need for next year's pre-K? Like, I mean, I remember a couple of years ago, I went to the NISBA thing up in, where we go?
Rochester.
And they had a whole section on really technology that's built around pre-K kids. Have we been looking at that? We're good where we are?
Yeah, so we're constantly having that talk on like, hey, next year, how we do it different, and what we learn, what works and doesn't. I think we're still putting that together, and we're sort of making small decisions on the fly. When it comes time, right, for budget, we'll want more of that. But I don't think we're going to have any large tech surprises, and certainly not a lot of large curriculum surprises. But definitely a lot of small reflections.
Very good.
I know there's a lot of stuff there. Is there any other
Comments, questions?
I just have one.
Sure.
So with cycle 2 of the WEN beginning in March, I'm
Sure.
assuming letters to the parents
Correct.
go out like mid-February.
Probably right at the end of
And-
February.
Yeah,
Oh, no. So a lot of assessments are taking place too, like there's running records right now and FPs. That will come up a little later, but also we're using IXL, which is that standardized computer assessment. You're all familiar with that, right? So the MOI, the middle of year assessment, is taking place next week, I think, right? We start that window. So that'll be in that as well, and then that's in that.
correct.
So, but those letters will come out at the end of February, because we want to make the groups as accurate as possible and spend real time.
Good, thanks.
Hey, Mike, can I just to add to that? So when the kids usually go, like they have 2 different win periods per day. So the month of February, they don't go to those win periods. They just stay in their class or go to their regular homeroom.
If your student has IEP services that fall in when, like an L1 student might, or even a 504 student, those continue because it's right for the student, but they also legally have to. And then a lot of our students that are L2, even though it's not the 504 IEP level support, if they were seeing an AIS provider or a special ed teacher, because it benefited them in L2, that will also continue. But the L3s and 4s would return. So we don't want to, our students who need the most support to reach grade level have a drop in service, but we also need to take this pause to sort of reset, reflect, look at the data, make some educational and academic decisions.
Okay, thank you.
No, just that, my only comment is between Elm and Alden, can't be happier with the sort of the bringing together of those 2 buildings and having one sort of roadmap for the 2. And I mean, from our standpoint, or at least from mine, having this continuous improvement we tell people about this, great idea, do it again. You know, these are never just one trick ponies. It's got to be continuous improvement. So my compliments.
Thank you. It's there's 7 grades now before they even get here. So that's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's a lot of developmental time to give all the students the skills and the tools that they need for when they finally show up here on this door. So yeah, that's our job.
Very cool. All right, thanks, Mike. All right, and where do we go next? All right, we don't have for student.
No,
Yeah.
February
Financials. Do I have a motion to accept the financials? Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any comments, questions? No? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any against?
Aye.
I assume that was aye, yes? Paul?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, now the most depressing part of the entire meeting. We have a motion to accept the retirement letter from Georgia Herring.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Do I have a second?
Oh, I
I'm
did.
sorry.
Sorry.
Thanks. Any comments? Other than, this breaks my heart. I mean, both of my kids had Mrs. Herring. Only about 2 years ago, I actually was able to call her Georgia instead of Mrs. Herring. She did all the chaperoning of the senior trip, and she's just an amazing teacher. So thank you for everything, Mrs. Herring. Any other comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? We're not really allowed to say no, right? It's like the entire history of the Hartsworth is going. So Don Harkenrider, do I have a motion to accept the letter of retirement from Ms. Harkenrider?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dave. Any comments beyond, again, thank you so much for everything you've done for, the district.
35 years of service.
Amazing.
And coachings and, she's the backbone of basketball, volleyball, go on and on. 35 years of service, and in this day and age, you don't see much anymore.
Yeah. Thank you, Don. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any against? Oh, man, they just keep coming. Do I have a motion to accept the letter of retirement for Frank Fiorenza?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any comments? Again, I feel like my entire, my kid's childhood is going out the window, but very cool.
How long was he there for?
I
I
don't
didn't see
really,
that.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't put it on there.
Oh,
at like high 20s.
Yeah.
Jeepers.
No, that's fine. All right, anything else? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any against? All right. And then Mr. Shu, do I have a motion to accept the resignation for retirement of Kyle Shoemaker?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any comments? 36 years.
Yeah, 36.
That's incredible.
Soccer coach. I'm gonna have to call my son and tell him Mr. Shu's going. Any other comments?
Thank you for your service, all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of years combined.
Yeah.
Add them all up. It's a lot of years. Thank you.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Painful. We have the first reading of policy 1230. I think everything was added in that was previously discussed. Any, do we have a motion? Or no, we don't need a motion on this. Okay, any comments on this then? Questions? Okay, reading of 2342.
Carrie, for, I'm 2342, I'm gonna ask that we pull it because I didn't, all of the documents that I wanted to attach for you to read and compare, I wasn't able to get on there.
Okay.
So I don't feel comfortable, sorry.
All
And I
right,
apologize to
we'll
the
pull that
committee.
and bring it in next month, next board meeting. All right, 9585. I don't even remember this, to be honest
I
with
have a question
Right.
on that one.
That's a brand new one. You've never seen it.
you. Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Oh, this is not, I know the explanation talked about substitute, the substitute shortage, but this would apply to anybody who is not under collective bargaining.
Yeah,
correct?
so it really impacts our substitutes for
Sure.
us here, so that's why I wanted to just point that
Yeah.
out for us. That's where it's really impacting.
Got
And,
it.
Any really part-time worker is putting in the required number of hours.
Yep.
This will apply. to that.
So like food services.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure those people become aware quickly, right?
And it is, I just want to point out, it's at their cost, not at the district's
Yeah.
cost.
Okay, yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, we have the second reading for 4000 series. Any questions,
I have one.
concerns? Go ahead.
I have a question. I was just wondering, it's probably been in there for a while, but why 10 consecutive days for an illness, but 3 for a suspension? Just
Good question.
looking at that, you know, there's an advantage.
To getting suspended.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to look at it that way. I mean, you can get sick or we can kick you out. I mean,
It's pretty rooted in law because it's been the same way every place I've been.
Well, I'm thinking, the way I read it is the letter from the physician you could start the instruction prior to the 10 days,
Yes,
right?
If it's
Yeah.
assumed by the letter of the physician that they're going to be out for more than 10 days, then yes. you
So
could.
as soon as you receive the letter, the home instruction could begin.
Right.
Yeah, we want to launch
But
as soon as possible.
does it need to be 10 days? I mean,
Well, we don't make that decision.
no. I mean, if less than 10 days with that child. So if a physician suspects the child's going to be out for 3, just like a suspension, why wouldn't we provide that child with home instruction like we would with a suspension?
I'll see.
I can pull it
Well-
and get further
Yeah.
clarification from legal.
Yeah.
That's all. It's a good question. There's no reason to rush it through.
so can you guys take that?
Till we know.
Sure.
Any other comments should take back to, this when we have it open? Okay. All right, so we'll do the second reading again, assuming it's updated or not updated, we have an explanation. Second reading of the 5000 series.
That looks great. Thank you. Whoever worked.
Everybody okay? Paul, Jen?
Good.
All right.
Kara, do you want to add a motion then to approve these policies? I could do a
Well,
walk-on
We
motion.
can only, the only one we can approve is the 5000.
Right, for the
Yeah.
5,000, yeah.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
Do we want to do it right now?
Yep.
Do I need, I'll just make it up as I go.
Yep, just. Yes.
Do I have a motion to accept and approve the 5000 series policy documents? Do I have a
I'll
second?
second.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I just want to add that we've made the committee work more efficient. We have invited our council to be at every meeting with us so that it's not this back and forth of emails and conversations, and that we're all just sitting at the table hashing it out. And then Margot Shaw will revise it And we'll review it together as a team, make sure it looks good, it's finalized before we bring it to the board. So we cut out that step so that we can move a little faster.
Very good. Okay. All right, all in favor? Aye. Any against? Next is questions from the public. Cheryl?
We have two. The first one, that was in reference to the legality of the mask mandate, which Laura addressed by sending out her notification.
You might want to maybe just real quick to make sure
You want to
that,
read it? Want me to
so.
read it? It's, are you going to follow the new law that states mask mandates are illegal? Also, I'm aware there was a hearing today that until a stay is in place, it would be illegal to mandate masks regardless of what the state education department says. So Laura addressed that.
Very good.
And then our second question is from Mindy Moore, and that is, please supply a tangible document or website to answer my questions as follows. Where specifically did the authority or directive come from to mandate the testing of student athletes as a condition of play upon returning to in-person learning?
So that was an administrative decision. That's when we went remote. And we knew that if we didn't have our varsity teams practicing, it would impact them in their sports. I know Caroline can speak more to the sports end of it. So we implemented screening testing of our athletes. And we ensured that all of our athletes, they could play if they wanted to, but they had to be tested, or they could not participate.
And if I remember, Julie, our lawyer, reviewed what we put together,
Yeah,
correct?
and it was a conversation with the administrative team, our coaches, athletic directors, to say, we want to make sure that our athletes are healthy and monitoring their health so that they can play.
Okay,
So really, that's where it came from, is to the care for and the monitoring of our student athletes and making sure that we're not impacting them negatively in their athletics.
and
In
if
the program.
if there's any more specific questions than that, she can call either the athletic director or Caroline or you, right?
Yep, and we've been in conversations multiple times with Ms. Moore.
Okay. All right. Anything else? John?
No, that was it.
All right, very good. All right, committee reports. Strategic planning and board goals subcommittee. First of all, my apologies. I was last minute out of town for both that and the technology committee. I'm sorry I didn't make those meetings. Anybody have anything to, updates on that?
And which one, the strategic planning?
Yeah. strategic plan.
Yes, so our next strategic planning project team meeting is scheduled Friday, January 28th. And we had our first steering committee, which is made up of two teachers, board members, and administrators. And that first meeting, we talked about roles, timelines, and strategic planning process. And then we analyzed as a group and reflected upon data that we collected through our Vision Video Ask. That's when students and staff and the community could respond in text or video and share their vision for the district in the next 5 years. And then we had student focus groups, and that was Gabby from Education Elements, Victoria and our principals, Caroline and Elliot, facilitating that. And then we use that information to draft themes for our strategic process. So our next steering committee will be in February. So we'll have more to report to the board as we move through that process.
Yeah, Laura, I think I sent you a comment. I thought it was a really good meeting. I thought it was great input. I was very proud of the caring culture and a lot of the, social emotional learning pieces that were shared. So thank you guys for that hard work. I think we're going in a good direction.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All right, facilities committee. Yeah. Either Chris or Elliot, you guys want to
Sure. So facilities committee met briefly last week. We are going to be facilitating interviews with 8 architectural firms this Thursday. Our intent is to bring forward the finalists to an open session interview on February 8th, if possible. We'll see, if we can come to a consensus after that meeting with our selections. But the intent is that, as the board requested, to present those firms to you folks for final interview. We have a series of questions that we're going to be asking that cover the following categories. I don't want to share them in the public session, obviously, to tip our hand, but we're going to be asking questions that are relevant to the firm's experience, their knowledge of the district, how much homework they've done about us, what their position is on program-informed design, specifically around curriculum and student welfare, what their prioritization process is, how they handle health and safety items. Again, a strong focus on program instruction, innovation, sustainability and renewable energy, industry trends, financial management, communications and marketing, and their just procedural, the processes for which they go through from top to bottom of the capital project, their relationships with the state, their knowledge of state regulatory requirements, technical system knowledge, and their position on availability and scheduling. What's their volume of work look like? How do we fit into that schedule? Things of that nature. So we as a committee wanted to share those kind of categorical things as a broad stroke with the board. If there's anything that I didn't mention categorically that the board is very interested in, please let me know. We can always adjust our questioning. Each firm is going to be given a 10-minute window to kind of just present themselves to us in the best light possible. And then our series of questions will follow to fill in the gaps of anything that they didn't cover in their initial presentation.
And what are those meetings again?
They're going to be Thursday, all day, with 8 firms. We're starting at 8:30. We'll be done by about 3.
Okay. I just showed Laura, Mike is still in there listed on the committee.
I just
I want to change it to John.
I did.
Thank you. Okay, any other comments, questions for Elliot or Chris or Jen? All right. Are you on the committee too?
There's too many of them. Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say, well, you can't have 4.
I don't think
No, there's 3 of us.
Jen's not on it.
Well, I thought there was, okay. No, Jen's on it. 1, 2.
Yeah,
Three.
For facilities, yeah, there's 3 of us.
Okay, now I thought, for some reason, I thought there looked like 4. All right, food services.
We met yesterday, and Kevin has a lovely document to share. I'm serious. What's up?
You guys are gonna get yourself invited to breakfast at the cafeteria or lunch at the cafeteria?
Sorry.
Right. Right.
Paper sticking on it. So one of the things that I believe the last couple of meetings is the board's been asking for some information about the school lunch program. And what we did is the business office put a report together. Hopefully it'll be something that will be informative to you and give you a better understanding of what's happening in the program. And it's really kind of designed to mimic our financial statement. So at the end of the year, when we get our auditor's report, it'll give you kind of a heads up of what we're talking about within various categories. And as we look at both the top portion, which is designed for our revenue, and the bottom portion, which is our expenditures, it'll give you some meaning of what we're talking about within the program. So in the beginning here, the first column we put together is the budget. What's the budget for the program, and what is our expectation to run? So we're looking at an overall budget of $423,978. So we have a breakdown of revenues and expenditures. Typically type A lunches are what the students come in and purchase for themselves, but because of the situation, we're getting reimbursed from the state and federal government for those. We're also looking at other cafeteria sales. What is that? Those are like a la carte items. So when a student will come in and buy like a salad, it's not part of the free and reduced lunch program. It's like an additional item that they would buy. So those are basically where a lot of our sales are coming through because we're not collecting money from the students. Here's additional revenue that comes in from vending machines and catering. And that is very small at this particular point, but those dollar amounts will change throughout the year. Some adjustments in balancing of registers, any gifts or donations. And then we have really the bulk of the meat of where our revenue is coming in from both the state and federal government for the reimbursable lunches, along with other commodities like food purchases that are donated to our program. Then getting into the expenditure side, we have the cafeteria, the salaries for our staff that help run the program and make it operational and function for our students. If there's any equipment that we buy or contractual agreements, typically a contractual could be where you go for an outside service or you have some repair that's being done on some of our freezers or ovens or stoves or stuff like that. You'd have an outside vendor come in. But the big portion of it is our food purchases. So what we're looking at is what is the inventory when we start? How many commodities do we receive over a particular period of time? And what is our ending value? So that's telling us how much we've actually used for both our food purchases, our cafeteria, supplies to help run the program. And then there's also the cost of the employee benefits, members who participate in the employee retirement system, like our Social Security. All of our employees, they pay their portion as well as we have a matching portion of Social Security that's the cost to run the program. Workers' compensation in case there's an injury directly related to their work experience in the food service program. And through those who participate, health insurance and dental insurance. So we're looking at an overall program of $423,978. One of the things I believe the board asked for, what is the operation? What's going on in a particular month? So we went back and we looked at all the revenue that came in and all the expenditures related to just December. And that's what we're trying to outline out here for you. So we did have some other sales of $5,150. We had some state aid come in, and some commodities and federal reimbursement. So in this particular month, we had $73,042.29. Now, we have to be careful here. I don't want you to think that when we're looking at revenues and expenditures, they're going to match exactly every month. Some of this is timing differences on when revenue actually comes in. We try to book it as soon as we know what's actually coming in, but there could be some discrepancies or some particular issues in there. Also, what you need to be careful for both revenue and expenditures is the time period within the month. So for an example, in December, we had a period of time where students weren't in school, but yes, we were still delivering lunches and to those items, but we weren't operational as we would maybe in another month when you have the full 4 weeks and typically 4 weeks in a particular month. So some months you may have 15 days of operation, others you could have 30. So you need to be aware of those just discrepancies from month to month. Also looking within the expenditure aspect of that for the month of December. And again, some of it issues. And what do I mean by the timing issues when we purchase food? Typically, we would like to pay our vendors as soon as possible. Sometimes we can pay them in 30 days, sometimes they're 90, just depending on the time period when we actually get the invoices in. And we get a better understanding of working with the individual vendors. So again, there's some timing differences in here. So looking at this particular point in time, you can see that your revenues and expenses, we had much more revenues than expenses. The third column is we're giving you, where are we today? If we closed our business today, as of the end of December, where do we actually stand? So the third column is giving you the fact that if you, the same type of procedure, but at the end of this particular period of December, we're at revenues over expenditures of $29,558.45. But what I want to draw to your attention is that the district applies with voter approval $35,000 to help run the program. Now, when you look at it during the months of July and August, we have staff that are here, they're preparing the meals, they're preparing the menus, they're getting things ready, they're purchasing food. So when the students come in September, we can start running and serving them. So there are costs during the months of July and August that don't always correspond to the revenue that's coming in on that. So it's also $35,000 that helps from a cash flow point of view so we can pay our bills. Because you can see with timing differences, we may not get federal reimbursement until the second or the third particular month. And again, we try to pay our vendors, we need to pay our staff. We have obligations that we need to pay within a time period. So the $35,000 helps the program. And as of this particular point, if we didn't have it, we would have a deficit of about $5,500. So it's very important. And I think the next issue was the board was, well, where do you think we're going to be at the end of June 30th? We don't want to find out on June 30th, oh, by the way, we need $10,000 or $30,000. So what we've done is we've looked at our first 4 months of operations where students have been here, September, October, November, and December. We got a general sense of what our revenues were for those time periods and what our expenses have been. And we're trying to project that 6 months into the future. So we've done that with those types of mathematical calculations. And we've come up with our projection as of June 30th, if everything stays the same. Now, what I also want to bring to the board's attention is the fact that we have a number of issues that are affecting the program that are outside our cost. For an example, supply chain issues and the cost of inflation. We're not always getting the material and supplies, the food purchases that we need, and we're not always getting it at the price we were promised for. Because typically you would bid these items at the beginning of the year, but unfortunately, we all see when the grocery stores, nobody's honoring those prices anymore. They just can't. And in some cases, they can't get the materials or they can't get the products for us. And even within the federal government, who used to help with donating fruits, vegetables, those types of things, those are decreasing when we talk with Holly, our food service manager. So those are all things that we can try to take into consideration, but we can't do it with any absolute. Just as we were talking a little bit earlier with gasoline and fuel and stuff like that and transportation costs, those things have skyrocketed 40–50%. And of course, it's going to be reflected there. So as of this particular point, we still see that we're fully operational and functional. And if things go as we would plan as of today, we would still be profitable or close to breaking even within the program. So this is a format that we designed. We try to take some recommendations from the board and other people and try to put it into this particular format. And hopefully it's going to be acceptable to you. So, please take, the opportunity to look at it and we can answer questions for you. It is a little bit similar to one of the older formats that you had going back a few months ago that was included in some of your board packages, but we expanded on it to try to put it more in what I hope is a clearer format, but also give the board the information they wanted on a monthly basis and where we think we're going to be at the end of the year. So I hope it's, helpful. The other thing, we did talk about the school lunch program and are there things that we can do to make it better and to improve it, and also looking at the operational aspects of it. There may be some need to help with a part-time cook or some other individuals, so we don't have one person running all over the district between buildings trying to get everything right, and that we can also help serve the students in a more efficient in a managed way. So that would be something that I'm sure at some point will be coming to the board's attention. I just one person of the committee, and if there's anybody else that has anything else they'd like to offer, please go right ahead. Thank you.
First of all, thank you. I mean, this is really getting, and it's not, I think the board gets it. The price of tomatoes went from $1 a piece to $20 a piece. It's where you can't forecast that kind of stuff. What we want to avoid, or what we've been trying to sort of get to for the last few years, is at the end of the year, hey, I need 50 grand to cover the delta. If we're going to need 50, okay, but let's know about it in December. That we think it's going to be 50. Might be 52, it might be 48, but we think it's going to be around there. And then have the explanations, price of fuel tripled, cans of peaches or whatever the hell, whatever it is. But I think, this is going a long way towards getting us there. Now, is this something that you can just pull? This isn't something that has to be re-engineered every month or every whatever.
Well, I think I have a basic format. Yes, there is information that does need to be pulled and need to be analyzed. So it's not just a 5-minute,
Okay.
blah, blah, blah. It will take some time and effort to do. But also, hopefully, one of the good signs is we also, and I think I spoke about the audit report from the last few years, how at one point in time there was $100,000 that was being applied and there was a deficit, and it's worked its way down slowly over the last few years. So I see there's been some effort by people to try to manage it without raising the cost of school lunches, because that's something we don't want to do in effect. So So, again, we can do this for you moving forward, but I don't want you to be shocked when you see, well, my goodness, why is there so many
Yeah.
cost items? And that didn't match the revenue. What are we doing here?
But even being able to answer the question, hey, whoa, last month you told us it was 0.
Right.
Now it's 20 grand. What happened? Just being able to answer that question to a set of data that we're looking at, I think.
I tried to look back at the last 4 months, September, October, November, December, as kind of a standard and see, okay, if this is the activity that's happening, I have a good assumption the next 6 months it's going to continue. Not guaranteed, but it's an assumption that that's, the direction we're going to work in and work through. So again, working with, Holly, the school and her staff and the people to try to get this information so we can share it with the board if it's acceptable to you.
Any other questions or comments?
I just want to say thank you. Perry, Howard, I've been on for 9 years. You guys have been on for 6 or whatever the terms are. We've been asking for this for a long time. I mean, between facilities and this business report, I want to say thanks. I'm glad I took my medication tonight. Otherwise, my heart might have been able to handle it. But again, thank you for being thorough and just answering the questions that we asked. I mean, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Good job.
Can I ask a question? This might be like a logistics thing. And if we are shorthanded in the kit, I know for a teacher, it's got to be someone that's got X amount of qualifications. Can, because he just mentioned part-time cook, and it just got me thinking, can parents go in and volunteer to go in the kitchen? If or could they have a list of, 10 parents who said that they could volunteer if they were short-staffed? Are they allowed to do that?
Well, I think we would have to work within certain civil service requirements for the appointment of individuals and people. And then you really need to also have to go through certain checks like you would any other employee. But I think you also want to have consistency, not where someone just comes in for a week and helps out and then, well, I can't do it anymore. So you invested time and energy in their training and, they can't always do it. Or maybe I can only be Monday, Tuesday, or I can only work on Fridays. So, it's something you really would have to look at. The help is always appreciated, but then we'd also have to, talk with the legal counsel on something like that for even greater and better direction.
Okay.
And Holly, I'm wondering if you want to talk more about the staffing piece.
You're muted, Holly.
Not exactly sure, Laura.
What you envision for a cook, what you envision for.
So I'm thinking possibly like a 15-hour cook would be great in the middle school where we do the vast majority of bulk cooking. And we spoke briefly about having a lead person potentially in each building. So that there's a go-to person or someone that's responsible for, getting the orders to me in a timely way, or right now it's kind of everybody's on an equal plane. So it makes it difficult for them to figure out who's going to do what. And oftentimes I'll have to ask, everyone in order to get the information that I need to be able to place orders.
And inventory as well.
Right. Yeah, they work on that kind of together. And that probably wouldn't change a whole lot, but it would still be important to have one person who is assigning, what areas needed to be counted, and it plays such a large factor in the profit loss. And then even month to month, if you miss a whole section of chicken in your counting, that it's equivalent to hundreds of dollars.
All right. Any other questions about this part? I mean, the having something like this so that we know if you guys come in and say, we just can't do it, we need another cook, or we need another whatever. At least we can say, well, if we had another cook, what would that be? 10 grand, okay. You know, what's that gonna do to us?
Right.
At least if we have an idea, I think that's fantastic.
This was, I'm hopeful that you think that the form that Kevin and Ashley created is like amazing, because I did too.
I think very
Yeah.
good.
And that's why I told Kevin, you have to share it. You have to share it right away.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Considering we were told for the past years it couldn't be done, so, yes, thank you.
Now, there was also, I'm sort of jumping off, but still staying in food service. There was some questions about students and the, you know, working in the cafeteria as part of, did that all get answered in some emails that were going around?
I asked Laura to just run it by legal. So
Okay.
I don't, I know your day was probably crazy. I don't know if you've had time to do that yet.
All right.
I know from a legal perspective, I don't know from a legal perspective, but I have thoroughly enjoyed having them, and I think that they have thoroughly enjoyed being there. It's just been a really good experience, and the kids at the middle school are so excited when they come through. We've put labels on the stuff that they've prepared, and they've just done, they're amazing. It's a energy packed 40 minutes. And it's really pretty awesome to watch and see and be a part of.
It's a great idea. However, until we do get legal, let's put a hold on.
Understood.
And Paul's willing to come in and cook some brajol and sauce. Like,
All right, Paul, come on.
Hey, listen,
Love to have you.
I could do that, Holly, maybe Jen and I can do something together.
Absolutely.
I'm in there.
you guys cook it, I'll eat it.
You can go
Irish
on.
meatballs. I got it covered.
Sounds good. I'm in.
All right. All right, the policy committee?
Sure. Since the last time we updated it, we met twice. You saw what came in tonight. There's 4 for the first reading and 2 that were in previously, the 4,000 and 5,000 seats both got kicked back by the board. So we made those revisions and we'll take another look at 4,000 again. We meet again early in February to look at 6,000 series fiscal policies and 7,000 series facilities development. I think the format's working very well, efficient. We know what policies we're going to look at next, so we come in with our thoughts, and legal's there, so it moves very quickly. We're still working on the tracking piece, the track changes. It's difficult because most of the documents have so many edits already. So at least in the short term, we can attach the current ones, you know what it looks like, and the proposed. If we do any from scratch, we'll add track changes like we did in this last round.
Good, yeah.
We did try text compare software to look at the old and new. It worked, but it was messy. I don't think it would have helped anybody. But anyway, it's working well.
Good.
Moving forward.
Excellent, thank you. If you knew how long those things have been open, my God, I think they were, the one referred to something to do with Paul Revere in it or. Anyway, very good. Tech committee?
The tech committee met, we continued our work on aligning the computer science and digital fluency standards to our curriculum maps. And we had a pretty good turnout. We had two breakout groups with about 12 people involved in the process of the last meeting. So our next meetings will cover our next 2 meetings will cover the balance of 7 to 12. And then we'll utilize the rest of the year to kind of analyze the work we've done, looking to draw some comparisons, some similarity to really inform, and hopefully give the principals information that can inform some of the teaching learning that's happening in their buildings. I know some of the stuff that Mike talked about earlier with the STEM program at Elm, we're kind of trying to leverage these brainstorming sessions to really inform the work that's already happening and then bring it through the rest of the grade levels over time. And then we're going to use the rest of the year to focus on tweaking our last version of the state mandated technology plan and submit it for a June 30th deadline. So
Very good. All right, wellness committee?
So the wellness committee met on January 19th. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be there because I was actually dealing with a student issue. But The minutes are in the agenda tonight for review. There is a wellness survey that is being created as well as a website. And we have some subcommittees that are working to add content to the form that will be used for the survey to try and glean, what our students and our community need most from the committee. And then there are some ideas about just having a flow of information through faculty meetings into the buildings to make sure that that the wellness committee really starts to make that connection with the buildings, and it's not just something that's happening sort of on the side. Our next meeting is March 16th, and we will continue some of these discussions, and I think also streamline some of this back to the goals of the committee for this year. And then we do have two other committees that are not listed. February 3rd. And one thing, Victoria is actually presenting a webinar tomorrow on data as a communication tool and a change agent. So that will be a webinar that the link can be shared with the district data as well. And then our safety committee will be meeting on February 9th. But we have scheduled building ICS trainings and additional threat assessment training, as well as the communication plans. I've been drawn up by myself and Frank with Elliot's help on getting the CAD drawing, the building plans from our architects.
All right. Any questions, comments? All right, Dutchess County School Board. We met, I included it here, but they're only to be shared with board members. So, don't throw them around the city streets or something. Like I said, it's a yearly meeting that basically goes through where everybody is, who still has contracts open, what are going to be some of the big hit issues. It's a really interesting meeting. They will, I think I sent you guys an email. They're also going to have the principal of CTI, what was that, April, I think, which should be a really interesting, CTI means a lot to me. And I think the new superintendent of BOCES has big ideas for what's going to happen. I know Gully has been, poking at a lot of different people on where it should head next. And so hearing from Nick should be a really good session if you want to join. I'll send out the meeting notice. Enrollment report, your entertainment. Any questions about that? Comments? Yeah, MEF report.
Okay, yes. So we're still, the annual fund started end of November, and we will still continue to accept contributions. So we want to thank everyone who's contributed so far. And recently MEF donated $1,000 to the upcoming drama club for the high school for their production of Grease. And also the Alden Science Fair is coming up. And so MEF has donated the money for the cost of the t-shirts for about 100 students. The Taste of Millbrook will happen on June 4th in some fashion. So we spent a good amount of time during our last meeting just last week discussing. It will be some type of in-person Taste of Millbrook, whether it's a scaled down type event, or maybe even a hybrid. So if people don't feel comfortable, we may have the Taste to Go, an upgraded Taste to Go like we did this past summer, as well as a scaled down Taste of Millbrook. But stay tuned because it will happen. So
All right, very good. PTO?
So I don't have a lot because I've been out, but I can tell you that they have the Gertrude Hawk chocolate fundraiser. So I think I speak for Chris. I don't know if your kids, but Chris LaBelle and I, if anybody wants chocolate, you can sign up with us. It's very good. And that's the one fundraiser that's going on, I think, until like February. And that's like, this is one of their big ones. So if anyone on the board or anybody wants some chocolate, you know who to come to.
Put my order in. Dinner bunnies.
There's a lot of
Good.
goodies.
Any other questions about PTO? Suspension incident report, just there for your information. Any questions or comments? Future agenda items. We've got, just talked about one. Oh, this esports thing, just making sure we know. I don't want to delay anything in having that move forward if we choose to, so we'll get that on for February 8th. Anything else anybody wants to see? Kevin, we still on target for the 22nd for the long-term financial plan?
We reached out to Rick Timms and his organization. We're still waiting to hear back from him. We were asked about 2 weeks ago for some additional information, which we've supplied to him.
Okay.
And we're waiting to hear from him. But at this point, I would expect to have some kind of discussion on February 22nd.
Okay, all right, very good.
And we can give you a better update at the February meeting or sooner if we hear from him.
Okay. All right. All right, next is the executive session. Do I have a motion to go to executive session to discuss the employment of history of particular employees?
Barry, you're really pushing me over the edge with a 9:09 executive session. Great facilities update, cafeteria update. Don't do this to me. This is too much.
You know, we would have been out of here by 8, but this guy Sotero showed up. And
I said, really quick. I'm sorry. I'll come back to my, so.
I will keep him around, right? I go, Mike.
Yeah. All right, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any against? All right, we'll take a 10-minute break.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Guys,
everyone.